Am I the a-hole for indirectly making my wife lose her job? My wife broke her legs a few weeks ago and can't drive. I've been driving her to work, but she's a horrid, absolutely terrible backseat, well I guess front seat but that's not the saying, driver. To the point where until now I just never drove her anywhere. She would always drive if we went together. She yells and says to stop and threatens to pull the e-brake. She never has, and I don't think she ever will, but it's still worrying. I've never seen anyone so insane about it. Every day for the past few weeks I've told her she has to work on it, but she hasn't gotten any better. 2 days ago I had had enough and said if she did it again I'd stop driving her and she could Uber or get a friend to drive her. Well, she did it again, so today I didn't drive her. I said she could Uber or call a friend. She said she hates Uber, so called a friend, and the friend was late picking her up, which made her late to work. Apparently she's been late to work enough that she got fired. I know she's late pretty often, but I didn't know it was that often. When she got home she was absolutely fuming and yelled at me that she got fired because of me and that I should have just driven her. I told her that her backseat driving is both dangerous and taking years off my life, and it's not my fault she's been late so many times that the one time it's my fault she gets fired. She's still super pissed. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I went to bed and missed some requests for info. My driving is decent, at least I'd say. And she broke her legs skiing, not in a car accident, and she was like this before she hurt herself also. My husband without a driver's license is a backseat driver. I hate it when I have to drop him off. But he hates driving in a car too, so he avoids it as much as possible. To be fair, we just have a car for a year now, and we are 8 years married. Before that we didn't have enough money and public transportation is okay here. He actually caused a few scratches and stuff in the first few weeks because he got on my nerves so bad. I was learning to drive again since a decade of only loan cars, and he was screaming about every farth he saw. That really distracted me because I trusted his judgment after years of marriage without second thoughts. If the kids are yelling, I know to ignore them by instinct because kids yell. But I always want to listen to him. I actually stopped the car once and said he could go and walk if he kept it up. He is 194 and 140 kilograms, so huge among us. Wouldn't have gotten him out of the car if I wanted, but he got the hint. I'm more relaxed now with driving, and he shuts up. He is still an oozing ball of nerves beside me, but he does put in the effort to keep it low key. And in the car, I just put him in the same mental box as my kids now, so he cannot distract me anymore. Mine does the same thing. He will even accelerate a little as a car ahead is braking. He brakes hard up to a stoplight and always is right on the tail of the person in front of him, only at lights, not while in motion though. I keep telling him, if he gets rear-ended and hits the person in front of him, he will be responsible for the person in front of him for not being a safe stopping distance. He also gets mad at people who drive cautiously and slowly in snow conditions. I drive like that in snow and then point that out to him that I do when he is screaming at the people in front of us. I hate snow driving. Sometimes I bitch at him when the person in front of us is braking and he's not, and he bitches back. I'm trying to make sure the person behind us doesn't ram us up the ass. And I say, well, we have no control over the person behind us. We do have some control over what we do to the person in front of us. He's liable if he hits us then, and we are liable for hitting the person in front of us. Our kid is 15 and learning how to drive, and when he gets aggressive I itch at him that he is setting the example for how our kid will drive. Honestly, the kid prefers to drive with us. I think as I'm a lot less raggy when I drive vs him. I will get itchy at people that practically stop before making a right hand turn, or people who are slow in the left, yeah no, passing lane lol. No, the a-hole, because you gave her a warning that you'd do this. but mostly because you didn't get her fired, even indirectly. If the lateness was because the friend was late picking her up, it still wouldn't even be the friend's fault. She's an adult, and she could have sucked it up and either 1, gotten up earlier, and planned to get her friend going earlier, so she'd make it to work on time, or 2, gotten up earlier, and used Uber, even though she doesn't like it, because it has a relatively predictable waiting time, before you'll be picked up. As an aside, if this didn't happen too long ago, could your wife go talk to her old boss, and ask for her job back? She could explain that she was relying on others for a ride, acknowledge that she could have been more diligent in making sure her drivers were going to get her there in time, and promise to use more reliable transportation in the future. Perhaps she could ask that this be considered a reasonable accommodation to her temporary disability, and propose that she be rehired on a probationary basis. I have no idea if that would work, but there's no harm in trying. This isn't just about the driving. She lacks the emotional intelligence to control her behavior even when it clearly benefits her to do so. What she doesn't have for herself, she definitely doesn't have for you. She acknowledges your needs, and it goes out the window. Her needs aren't met, and she throws you under the bus. She dislikes Uber because she can't abuse a stranger the same way she can abuse you or her friends. I would be dragging my ass and late if I was her bullied friend. Separately, her blaming anybody but her damn self for losing her job is immature and irresponsible. Any consequences you get from this compounds the abuse. Nobody believes that they are the villain in their own story. She needs help that you cannot provide. She can't associate consequences to her behavior and adjust her behavior accordingly. Tolerating this enables her behavior. Not tolerating this draws her anger. Info: did she break her legs in a car accident? I mean, yeah, it's funny, but that was also my first thought. It's weird to me that O.P skips past that in his story. Like, my wife broke both her legs a few weeks ago isn't a huge life-changing incident that would probably cause trauma and changes in behavior. You're the a-hole. Based on the way you told the story, it makes your wife sound like tar. However, she has 2 broken legs, your driving appears to terrify her, and she is having difficulty at work. It sounds like she is probably going through a really difficult time, and the person who is supposed to be her partner is making it more difficult for her. Sounds like you're trying to validate your shitty behavior so you can continue being an a-hole towards your wife. They completely neglected to describe the situations where she was scared in the post. Later, as a comment, they wrote that they were driving behind a truck with an unsecured load. No telling how close. A school friend of mine lost his mother to exactly such an accident. The objects rolled out and hit her car while driving on the freeway. He has had to spend his entire adult life without a mom. What kind of person goes on Reddit and tries to make their wife sound crazy? Everyone's an a-hole. You're married adults. You both need to grow up. You should have driven her no matter what. She's your wife and needs your help. Your wife should be mature enough to not backseat drive when you've asked her to stop. BTW, threatening to pull the emergency brake is insane. It sounds like she has a lot of work to do on that front. Marriage is a partnership, and you've both sucked at being supportive partners here. You both opted to avoid the situation instead of having a rational conversation like adults, where you could meet in the middle. It's not all your fault she got fired, but it is partially. I would suggest you both work on compromising and talking more openly. That could help your relationship in the long run. Avoiding conflict entirely or not caring enough to work until there is a solution is not a healthy relationship. I dumped a girl over this. She had already been in a few car accidents and received tickets for not following basic driving laws, but somehow she was an expert and always screaming at me inside the car. Stop, can't turn here, you don't have the right of way, etc. She was always wrong and almost made me a crash a few times, or would scream about a coming car way down the road when making a left. Worst was when I was reversing out of a parking spot, saw a car, and braked, yet she would still effing scream, "Stop, there's a car coming." And in my head I'd be screaming back, "No effing duh. Why do you think I stopped reversing?" She was always effing screaming. And she would get mad if you told her to stop screaming. One night coming back from a date, after she screamed several times, I just pulled over and dumped her like 3 streets from her place. So, no, you're not the a-hole. She is. You told her to stop. She didn't. Someone screaming in the car while you're trying to drive is a danger, and you don't have to put up with it. You set rules/boundaries. She didn't follow them. She got herself fired by constantly being late before, and by making herself late, by being an a-hole to you this time. Thanks for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. See you all later.